Well, hello, my wonderful brothers of the Maverick Nation, and welcome to part 5 of What If Naruto Had the Curse Mark and Sasuke Had the Nine Tails? Yes, part 5. And in this story, we will be covering the tail end of part 1 of Naruto. Is basically everything. We will be basically covering the end of part one uh, of the Naruto story. Basically, Naruto part one, the end of that. And some other things that people may or may not find acceptable. But hey, it's my story, it's my what if. So, there's other what ifs on the channel. I just now started a what if. But, yeah, basically, with part 5 of this what if, we have Sasuke. He's alone. It's in the middle of the night. He's cursing at himself. He's training. Keeps on training. But he just doesn't seem to get better than Naruto. He's like, he needs to be strong. He needs to be strong. And then all of a sudden, these 4 random dudes, or 3.5 dudes and 1 girl, pop up and they're wearing sound headbands. But before they can really do anything, another person pops up and they have like these glowy crimson eyes. And they're just like, so I guess I'm a little bit later to the party than usual. And then these 4.5 people, because Sakon Yukon, whatever you know the sound for, they basically look up to this thing that is just like, you didn't answer my question. Am I late to the party or not? And Sasuke just like, Naruto, are you here to show me up again? And basically the antibody is just like, so these guys are your friends now? I'm gonna take that as a no before you even have time to answer. And basically just like, and seeing as it's a no, you 4.5 best get going before the both of us get serious. And the Sound Ninja just laugh it off. They're just like, oh, who do you think you are? And Sakon and Yukon get particularly peeved by this and like, what do you mean we? What do you think you and Sasuke are gonna do? Sasuke is gonna want this power and blah blah blah. And the antibody's just like, I wasn't referring to myself and Sasuke. I was referring, whenever I mentioned we, I was referring to us. We are Naruto Uzumaki. We are. Konoha's demon child. Or at least that's what we've been called. However, we prefer a more direct term. Konoha and all other elemental villages and non-elemental villages. God to be. And Sakon and Yukon, along with the other Sound Form members, are just like, God? Who the hell do you think you are? And the antibody is just like, so you doubt our abilities to become God? Well then, apparently you haven't learned the lesson from your other sound friend. What was his name? Zaku? Well, this will be interesting. Perhaps maybe even fun. I hope you're more fun than that, Hyuga. Yes. Spilling your blood will be much more fun. I get to see how the inner workings of such a power would affect the biological structure. And Sakon and Yukon are just like, the hell are you talking about? And the antibody's just like, simple, my friend. I'm about to take a tour of your insides. And then he just disappears and then reappears. And then all of a sudden, Sakon and Yukon are cut in half. Well, they're almost cut in half, but it's like they're cut into. Like where he just dug his claw hand straight in. And Sakon and Yukon are like, what did you do? And the antibody's just like, go ahead, transform. I wish to know how it feels from the inside. And Sasuke's like, Naruto, don't you think you're being a little bit extreme? And the antibody's just like, no, trust me. He deserves what he's getting. It deserves what it's getting. And then he's just like, now, oh, what's this? So, seems this part in particular has been affected quite nicely by your little technique. Now, let's see what happens whenever I do this to it. And then Sakon and Yukon they just cave over, just like, just like kneel over, like wince in pain and agony. And you're just like, anybody's just like, it seems there wasn't much fun with you. Though, now I do have more of a decent understanding of how the human body is able to adapt with such a structure as two different beings in the same, in a way different to that of us. Sakon, Yukon, consider yourselves lucky that we found you interesting for this long. Now, be gone. Yeah! And then they just poof are gone, like they get disintegrated. And Sasuke's just like, what the hell? And Tayuya, Drobo, and Kidomaru, or Kidomaru, however you pronounce his name, are all just like, what the absolute shit just happened? And Antibody's just like, oh, you're here. Very well then. Kia! He just raises his hand up in the air, and they all simultaneously just get erased. And just like, I'm getting stronger and stronger with every change that happens. The more and more we change, even if it's just the smallest thing, like the death of a little caterpillar, the more and more we change things around here, the stronger and stronger we become. Isn't that just lovely, Naruto boy? Oh, and you're here, Sasuke. I almost forgot about you. We almost forgot about you. But don't worry, we're not here to harm you. Or at least not in the sense to mean to harm you. And Sasuke's like, what do you mean? And the antibody is just like, well, consider this. By the time this all happened, by the time I got here, you were already well out of the limits of the village. They probably already have considered you a rogue ninja. And well, the villagers already hate the both of us. Yes, it seems that with the nine tails within you, they would be less reluctant to cast you aside. And just me in general, the way that I am, the way that we are, it seems the best course of action is to start our own. Wouldn't you agree, Sasuke? And Sasuke's like, well, how exactly do you hope to do that? And the antibody's just like, lift up your shirt. And Sasuke does so, well, reluctantly, but he still does so. And the antibody sees the seal, and he's like, what a poorly made seal. I know how to fix that. Control seal. A tetragram control seal. And now Sasuke is like being overcome with all this red, purple, black chakra and weird energy, and it's just kind of consuming him. And it's kind of like four-tailing him, like four tails, kyubi chakraing him. And the antibody's just like, this is interesting. Your body's adverse reaction to the power. Soon your half will be gone of that wretched fox, and then we'll be able to be more level with each other. And then they really will know, monsters. Now, sleep, Sasuke. And then he just bonks Sasuke on the head. Bonk. And he's just like, well, Naruto boy, what do you suppose we do now? And Naruto's just like, well, I don't really know. Well, I suppose this technique that we managed to learn over time could help. Separation no jutsu. And then they just separate themselves from each other. Like Naruto is now on the outside, and the antibody is also to be able to on the outside, but it's like for a limited time. They can only really use the separation no jutsu for a limited amount of time. And Naruto's like, why did you use the separation no jutsu here? And he's just like, well, there's an abandoned little shack not too far from here. I assume we could get some use out of it. There's enough room, as I can see. And you could see as well if you were actually trying. For both myself, you, and Sasuke boy. And Naruto's like, what do you mean, the both of us and Sasuke? What are you getting at? And, and the antibody is just like, you remember that sexy jutsu that you knew about, that you created? And Naruto's just like, yeah? Well, more specifically, that other me. That one you said you disposed of? That part was the one that helped create the sexy jutsu? And basically Antibody's like, well, seeing as I have overthrown him, I have particular use of his abilities to an even greater extent than he. So, sexy jutsu. Control seal version. So, how do I look? And like regular Naruto is just like, oh my god, how in the hell did you get that on the first try? You look amazing. And the antibody just like, so I assume I did good? And regular Naruto is just like, well, considering the result I got, the result everyone got, uh, pass. And the antibody is just like, well, then, I assume you wouldn't mind, considering I have such a better grasp of those abilities, and such a better way of utilizing them. Oh, and one thing in particular, even though I have this specific image, and the specific image I can take on whenever using that jutsu, that variation of the transformation jutsu, truly, since I am merely a creation of certain sorts, I really have no gender. And Naruto was just like, wait, what? You don't have a gender? Or at least a specific one? And the antibody's just like, so yes, I can be whatever you want me to be, especially within the time that I'm allowed to be free from the confines of being structurally attached to you. And Naruto's like, so what are you getting at? And, well, the antibody is just like, what I'm getting at is, seeing as Sasuke boy's out cold, and well, it does seem like it's getting to be nighttime. By the time we get to said shack, it will be about that time. We can both enjoy some night ramen together. Maybe even more than that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And now, like, regular Naruto's just like, wait, you're wanting to go there with me. Oh, I didn't know you were that kinda, uh, the genderless individual. That you would literally turn into a girl in order to. Whoa. So wait. I thought you just wanted to be friends with me. And the antibody explains, well, yes, that was my intention in the first place, but over time I seem to have grown in not really an attraction, but I guess you could explain an infatuation with how things have been going, and how I view you now in such a light. I want more than just a simple friend basis. It can still be that way, but there can still be more. I mean, I do believe you would agree, right? I mean, it's not really all that fair for you just to be lonely with only Sasuke to keep you company, and me just prattling on in your head, whispering sweet nothings into your ear for all eternity. 'Cause, as I'm sure you can already tell, neither of us can now die. We are technically, biologically immortal. By the time this has happened, we have gained such a status due to myself, and now what I have done for Sasuke. And Naruto's like, well, if it's true that we're biologically immortal and everything else that you've said, and it's true that you have no gender, and you can use a better utilized version of that specific version of the transformation jutsu that I created, then it seems for a longer amount of time, then I guess why not? And the Enterprise just like, well, why didn't you say so? Come along now. I'm not going to carry Sasuke for you. I may have certain feelings, but I'm not completely in debt to you. And Sasuke and Naruto's just like, okay, fine. Man, Sasuke has a lot of dead weight whenever he's out cold. And the Enterprise just like, and now you know why I'm not carrying him. So basically, that's part 5 with everything ending off. Basically, Naruto and the antibody. Basically, now Sasuke has his own little antibody, which basically goes through the same phases, but like in a different light. So basically, they have the same sort of path ahead of them. They're both rogue now, and the antibody seems to have expressed a keen interest within Naruto Boy and the actual info that it's genderless. So, really, free game. Yeah, free game. So, with that out of the way, part 5 is over. Of what if Naruto had the curse mark and Sasuke had the Nine Tails? Adausis.